It's been 676 days since the Eastern baseball team last played here at home, but they begin the 2021 season tomorrow as they take on New England College. And joining me here now to discuss everything Eastern baseball is their head coach, Brian Hamm. Coach, thanks for taking the time.
Tyler, this is great. Thanks for making this happen.
So, how great does it finally feel to be back with your team after being gone for so long?
It's pretty special. We're very fortunate in that we've been together since the fall. And actually, virtually, we've been together since our season ended on March 13th. So, through different forms, virtually, in person, at practices, and finally tomorrow in games, we have been together throughout the entire pandemic, which is, at the end of the day, getting to be a year now that we've been experiencing this. And we've been really fortunate to have been together that entire time, albeit sometimes it's been virtual. We've got players from Miami, we've got players from New Hampshire, Connecticut, throughout the Northeast. So we've been able to actually, in many ways, stay in touch more through the summer and winter months when we haven't been in season.
So we look at the basketball season just wrapped up here. We had 5 home games in 11 days, and we saw a number of teams that didn't play in the winter. And you guys are deciding to move forward with the season here this spring. How has the administration helped with making sure your team can have as normal a season as possible in this unusual time we are all living in?
Yeah, it's a good question, Tyler. And simply put, we've been incredibly fortunate to have outstanding leadership, not only within our athletics department and the university, but also throughout the state and our politicians in Hartford, allowing for us to have the opportunity to play. Again, not only this spring, but also for our fall season. President Nunez, Lori Runksmeyer, Director of Athletics, and the entire administration has been incredibly supportive, not only to give us the opportunity to try to make this happen, but also to provide the resources to make sure that we're doing it in a responsible way to keep our players, our game management staff, and our coaching staff healthy. And so that's taken a lot of hands on deck because there are coaches in the department, administrators stepping up to go above and beyond to make sure that we adhere to the different guidelines and protocol to be safe.
You talked about that opportunity getting to play this season. What are the challenges that opportunity presents you this year? I know with basketball, we had athletes, support staff, coaches all tested 3 times a week for COVID-19. So how difficult is it to run a baseball program like this season? And what are some of those changes and challenges you have?
There are so many that I wouldn't even go into the obvious. For example, the regular testing and how you coordinate that for a program of 60 players. Granted, right now we're practicing between varsity and JV to limit the number of players that we have on the field. But that in itself, and to look at the baseball program in our athletics department as almost small businesses in terms of coordinating all of these things in this new COVID world that we're living in. But what perhaps fans and parents and our alumni do not see are all the little things that influence how we think about the game as coaches and how our players approach the game that have now been influenced by COVID. For example, we're not able to have fans at the game tomorrow. That's a conference policy with the Little East, despite that we're opening things up now within the state. And that in itself presents challenges from our players' perspective. They're really excited to not only play and compete together, but also they want to play in front of their parents and their friends on campus, and they're not able to do it. And those little things, although they seem small, over the course of a year in dealing with different phases of the pandemic, those things do add up over time. The lack of social interaction for our students and for our players, the lack of just personal touch. That's very much a part of sports and competing, and the camaraderie that's built through that, or the interaction that you usually have in a normal course of a year where teams are able to hang out together on the weekends. That could not happen this year because of social distancing guidelines and being smart. And so those things have to then be developed in different ways on the field at practice, and to think about that from the coach's perspective and how you develop trust within a team, and how you develop relationship building within a team when you're only doing it at practice for a limited amount of time, are all things that come into play. And I could go on and on with different examples. But those are the things that we think about on a daily basis, in addition to now just in terms of preparing for tomorrow's game and taking into account all of the COVID guidelines that we have to have, in addition to preparing to play against New England College strategically. Just it adds to the things that we're thinking about ahead of time.
So you touched on it there, Coach. No fans are going to be allowed in at the game tomorrow. But for anybody that would like to watch the game, head on over to Go Warrior Athletics, and ETV Sports be streaming that game live for everybody. What players can fans expect to see, standout players that have stood out to you so far since practice began?
Tyler, let me first put in a plug for ETV, because if you haven't watched the game on webcast on ETV, you're missing out. You guys do such a good job with play-by-play, color commentary, camera angles, instant replay. We had our media day on Sunday. It's fun to watch those webcasts, and we watch them just to kind of review the game and see some different things and how we played. And I always enjoy listening to the play-by-play and color commentary. So fortunately, we have ETV doing a great job for our fans to be able to follow the team. I was dreading that question in terms of who to watch. I think it's always a challenge for a coach to identify certain players, and especially this year, because for two reasons. The first, that COVID has challenged our players and our team in many different ways. And as a result, our players have been participating and involved in the program in different ways, whether some are having to live at home and commuting, and some are adding work responsibilities and a whole gamut of other challenges that put them in a different place than other guys in terms of their readiness and how they reported and what they're doing to be ready for tomorrow's game. And the other reason is because I do feel that we have more depth of talent this year than we've had in recent years. And to honor the guys who have put in the time and developed and hadn't had last season to really show for in terms of performing, that'd be really unfair for me to say, okay, well, here are the guys who we identify, because there are going to be many opportunities for a number of our players beyond the front line 10, 12, 14 guys to perform in games at the beginning of the season. And so what I can tell our fans is that they are going to see many more names in the lineup at the start than they would in a more traditional year. And that includes players who decided to come back instead of graduating last year to finish out their eligibility since they lost last season. And that points to not only their commitment to the team, but also the strong culture that we have within our program and within our team, that guys wanted to come back, put their professional life on hold for a year to come back and compete together. So that speaks volumes not only about those guys, but what we have in this program and what we cherish. So I'm excited for the returning guys, the guys maybe who our fans are familiar with their names because they have been impact players in the past, to build on that. And I'm really excited for some of our returning players who may not have had the opportunity to play as many innings in the past, and our newcomers who this is their first go round. For those guys to have an opportunity to play and compete, and to become names that our fans are more familiar with. So there's much to look forward to. And I'm really excited that finally our players get rewarded for not only getting to play, but to have a home opener on a beautiful day.
So last question for you, Coach. What's been your message to your athletes as you begin this highly unusual season tomorrow?
It's a continuation of messaging that we've had starting back in March, and then obviously starting back and when I arrived at Eastern, in terms of what we're trying to build within our team culture and add to the Eastern baseball program and the athletics department, in that we're doing our best with whatever situation is in front of us. And we've learned a lot from having to deal with the changing climate and circumstances and many situations that are out of our control in the past year due to COVID. And to learn to do that together and to learn from each other and to support each other, and to accept what is out of our control and to make the most of it. And we've done a really good job of that as a team in the past year. And we've done a really good job of that this spring. And that's what I'm most proud of with our players and coaches is how hard they've worked, how dedicated they've been, how much they've honored the COVID policies that we have at the university to stay healthy and to keep our community healthy. That has taken a lot of effort on everybody's account. And I'm really proud of our team for being able to do that. And I'm really excited for the guys to have the opportunity to compete tomorrow and to play again. We're fortunate that we're able to do that. We lost part of our season last year. The fall lost their season. Winter lost part of their season. And it's really nice just to have athletes back on fields competing and playing together on a more regular basis, without having to worry as much as we had to about losing a season due to COVID and all the fears and anxieties that are associated with that. So tomorrow, honestly, I'm going to tell them, listen, have fun, compete, and enjoy the moment. Because one of the things that we've taken away from the past year is we realize how quickly things can go away and how quickly we can lose an opportunity that we may have taken for granted. So I'm really proud of our guys, and I'm thrilled to get to see them play together tomorrow.
Have fun. I like that message, Coach. I know you're a busy guy getting ready for this game tomorrow, but I appreciate you taking the time.
Awesome, Tyler. Always great to see you, even if it's virtually. Thanks for everything that ETV and you guys do to get us in front of our fans, especially important now with the no fans policy. But I look forward to seeing you at some point at the stadium, and go Warriors.
Absolutely. Thanks, Coach.